thank you for being here. I hope everybody enjoyed their dinner. We really appreciate you coming to this year's Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association Achievement Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. I'm Dave Hintz. I'm with the Wickliffe Schools of Alumni Association Board of Directors and the chair for the Achievement Hall of Fame. We have a lot, we're just so happy to see all of you here. It's been many years since we've been able to have an Achievement Hall of Fame with these great inductees and all of you here to support them. So thank you, thank you. Want to point out I'm a class of 1982 from Wickliffe, so it's hard to believe it's been over 40 years. Of course, I see Rondell and Elena's here. So I have to shout out to my fellow 82 Blue Devils. This evening, we are going to induct each of the inductees by year, from earliest to the most current, and we'll go in that order. We are going to go ahead and get started, but first, I want to welcome some past inductees of the Achievement Hall of Fame who are here tonight. Richard Benz, I think many of you who were Wickliffe grads might have had Rich, science and biology, and I always like to call out my dad's best friend, and it's always a pleasure to see him. Always brings back great memories for me. Our own Frank Fody, Dave Kreitch, Gloria Whitmer-Majeski, one of the nicest people in the world. William Eberhard is here. William, where are you? No. Over there, I missed you, sorry. Greg Mackley. Okay. And finally, of the past inductees, Bob Murphy. With that, I'm going to get started with the first inductee this year, and that is Dale Lefferts from the class of 1969. Dale isn't able to be here this evening because he actually just had knee replacement surgery, and it's preventing him from traveling from Cincinnati to Cleveland. So he did help prepare his induction speech, and I will try to do him the honor of doing this. Dale is a 1969 graduate of Wickliffe High School and the husband of fellow Wickliffe grad Christine Tomsic Lefferts, the class of 1969 as well. And he's the proud father of daughter Lori, who is a 1997 graduate of Wickliffe, and his son Eric, a 1998 graduate, and Eric's wife Kristen, and his grandchildren Nolan and Reagan. After college prep classes at Wickliffe High School, he went on to obtain a Bachelor of Arts degrees from Kent State University. He got his master's degree from Kent State and a Juris Doctor degree from Cleveland Marshall Law School. It was during his children's tenure at Wickliffe High School and through the Wickliffe school system that he really began giving back to the school system and the community. He said that it has given him so much pride in his life to do that, and he's proud that he was named the Popcorn King by his fellow volunteers in Friday night football games at the concession stand, and he proudly served as the PA announcer for both the football team and the Wickliffe Swing Band. It was also during this time that he was elected to 2 consecutive terms on the Wickliffe City Schools board of the school board. In addition to his service to the Wickliffe City Schools, Dale was proud to serve on the Lake County Board of Developmental Disabilities and the Crossroads Board for Youth and Family Counseling. During this time, he was also called upon to serve as member of the Wickliffe City Civil Commission, and he oversaw the hiring of police and fire department members. Professionally, Dale served as a juvenile probation officer in the Lake County Juvenile Court for 11 years while attending night school to obtain his master's and law degrees. After law school, he joined the Painesville law firm of Cannon, Stern, and Aveni, and remained in private practice for the next 7 years. The opportunity at that time arose for Dale to become a court magistrate in both Willoughby and Cleveland Heights municipal courts. He served in the capacity until, again, an opportunity arose. We can see a theme of opportunity for all of our inductees. He went back to return to the city of Wickliffe to serve as the director of law until his retirement in 2007. I'm going to read this next. This is in Dale's own words. After being notified of my induction into the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association Achievement Hall of Fame, I began to reflect upon my 12 years experience within the Wickliffe school system. What was in the experience that provided the building blocks upon which I would establish my goals for the remainder of my life. What did this was the confidence gained by the simple things, like being named Captain of the Guards by Mr. Patika at Warden School in the 5th grade, or that speed reading award given by Mrs. Judd in the 7th grade. How about the great starting point for appreciation of the English language instilled by Mrs. Judd, Mrs. Cushman, and Mr. Byers, or the spirit of competition raised by Mr. Logan, Mr. Hawley, or Mr. Kendra. Nothing boosts one's confidence like being named to the varsity basketball team and being awarded 3 varsity letters by Mr. Simmons. Clearly, it was those and other teachers and instructors that formed the lives of thousands of students that have passed through the halls of Wickliffe schools and are those that truly deserve acknowledgement for this accomplishment. Once again, and this is Dale's words, I thank the members of the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association for this honor of this induction into the Achievement Hall of Fame and look forward to following all the successes of the Wickliffe schools as they move forward in the new school campus. Please welcome Dale Lefferts, class of 1969. Dale, I hope you're watching. We are being live streamed to the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Achievement Hall of Fame. Now our next inductee, Terry DeMattia Shine, class of 1972. I always remind her she's 10 years older than me. This is really exciting for me because I've had the honor to work with Terry here on, with the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association for, geez, it's got to be 20 years now, nearly. So it gives me great pleasure as we induct Terry. Please welcome to induct her, Carla Vessel Gallagher.
Thank you. Again, welcome to everyone. As he said, my name is Carla Gallagher. I have the honor of introducing one of the Wickliffe School Alumni Association Achievement Hall of Fame inductees. Teresa DeMattia Shine has been a friend of mine for over 60 years. We met in 2nd grade at Lincoln Elementary School, and over the years have shared many happy moments and some very sad ones too. I'm pretty sure Teresa knows nearly everyone in this room. She is the daughter of Lou and Ida, a sister, cousin, niece, sister-in-law, aunt, a wife, mother, grandmother, colleague, and friend. All of us present fall into one of those categories. Her accomplishments are many, but I would like to emphasize her personal qualities. Interwoven through all of her relationships, Teresa has always demonstrated what it is to be a kind, compassionate, dedicated, generous, and giving person. Her family knows this, her colleagues during her many years as a nurse know this, and those of us who call her our friend do as well. Teresa's drive to keep Wickliffe pride alive for future generations by working tirelessly with other members of the Alumni Association has her involved now in preserving memorabilia that was such an important part of our lives during our years in Wickliffe schools. She has taken her love of history down the street to the Wickliffe Historical Society and is volunteering her time with others there to further identify and acknowledge our founding families and their contributions to Greater Cleveland. Teresa has inspired me to join her for many Wickliffe events over the years, and having witnessed how much she has done for the schools and our community, I was compelled to nominate her this year. For the record, I was not alone in this choice. For her love of family, friends, and our Wickliffe community, I again am honored to introduce Teresa DeMattia Shine.
wasn't expecting that. So my mascara doesn't run. For when we take pictures, when we're done, I'm usually the photographer, so I'm doing the reminder now. We'll do it again later, but the group will get together with our plaques and take photos. I'm thinking I don't need my glasses, but thank you, Carla. Thank you, everybody. I want to congratulate the other nominees, and I feel a little tie to all of them. Dale Lefferts' sister Donna graduated in 1972 with Carla and I and Bob, another classmate. And of course, we admired her big brother because he was pretty popular and very involved in sports. I met Jim's brother and sister at a garage sale at my house. I had the class of 1939 composite sitting in my garage, and they came over to look at it. And we established they were Wickliffe people and Jim's family. And then there's John Vorlis, who I accidentally called Jim in an email. I'm sorry. But I feel I have a connection to you too. With the Breaking Balls documentary that you did on the Wickliffe Italian American Club. And I was at the Italian American Cleveland Museum yesterday and bought the DVD to support you in the museum. So I can't wait to see it. And then there's Tara. Now, I played bocce with her mom, Lauren, and her dad, Bob. My brother, Tony, and I, it was the four of us that played mixed bocce on Wednesday nights at the INA. And also, Tara's a fellow majorette. Carla didn't mention that. We were partners in crime as majorettes with the percussionists over there. Okay. And then Mark, I met his mom. She came over to bring me a photo so that I could copy for his plaque. And I think we're related. I mean, we were talking about all sorts of people that we knew that, are godmothers and godfathers and it's related. And then, of course, Mark was the voice of the Cleveland Indians, which he's going to talk about, which is great. So my nephew Joe said, I bet you're going to talk about Italy. And yeah, I'm going to talk about Italy. So it was fortunate that both my sets of grandparents chose Wickliffe. They came from Avezzano. My parents met here in America, but both families were from the same town. So if it wasn't for them for choosing Wickliffe, who knows what would have happened. But Wickliffe is a great community, rich in history, full of Italian traditions, and a great place to raise a family. I'm going to try not to look at my family because I'll cry some more. But I wanted to reflect on high school a little bit because I was a member of the marching band and the wind ensemble, and Chuck Frank, who is a legacy in his own right. But we marched 107 kids in the band, and it was beautiful. And unfortunately, all those videos are gone. I tried to find them, but they're gone. I wanted to say that my bandmates, they were and are a special group of people. And you get to know people when you're with them every weekday, every Wednesday night, every Friday night, band concerts, band festivals. We had a lot of bus rides together, and one of my fondest memories. And so I also have received many hurrahs and many of those friends through text and Facebook. So it's a family in itself, and I love all my bandmates that are here to support me today. And that would be Bill Eberhardt, Bob Doherty, and Carla Gallagher. So thank you for being here. I love you. I had an addition to my notes, and I forgot to talk about it. I do want to mention about my mom. My grandmother, Anna, insisted that her children go to school. Now, a lot of kids back in the 20s, which is what I'm talking about, the kids stayed home because they needed to help support the families. But my grandmother insisted that her children attend school. And my mom graduated in 1932 from Wickliffe High School, which would have been the current middle school. and 4 of her 5 brothers also graduated. But on top of that, her children, so me, my brother Tony, Ray, and my sister Mary Jane graduated. She also had grandchildren and great-grandchildren that graduated from Wickliffe. And Wickliffe used to have a saying, generations of pride. And so I personally have that feeling of the generation of pride. So have to thank my grandma there too. I wanted to thank my family for the support during the years of my adventures. The nursing group I belong to, which is mentioned in the program, took me all over the country, and I missed events with my children and family. And the toughest one is I missed Katie's prom. I still feel guilty about that so many years later. We had a lot of takeout meals over those 25 years that I was involved in that nursing group. Nursing is a tough profession, and I try to leave that at work because nobody wants to hear about all the gross stuff and the complaining that nurses do. So we just would talk about it together with Patty and Pam and Julie. I want to talk about my sister Mary Jane. I won't look at Kathleen. She passed away in 2004, and she was compiling all the family genealogy. So when she passed, that all was handed to me, and that happens to be the year that I started participating with the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association. And of course, I needed to be the historian. So I am the keeper of the stuff, and I'm also an amateur photographer at events, and so it's killing me not to do that tonight. So take pictures of yourselves and send them to me. But I wanted to mention Luann Uranker-Ziebert and her husband Al, because they really started memory lane, and so now it's just keeping it going. And I did want to mention that the new campus, unfortunately, does not have a place for our stuff. So it is currently at Wickliffe City Hall with the Wickliffe historical items in storage of the things that we don't display. So know that it's in safekeeping. Bill Reed was supposed to be here tonight. He was the other gentleman that nominated me, and I thought, you know, he's the person that knew me the longest. I was 5. I remember being 5. He went to school with my sister. He'd wave at me from the truck from the service department where he worked for school. But actually, it's Joe and Carol Caroscia. Carol Bernetti Caroscia, they were our neighbors, and they were there when I was born. So I guess you're my oldest friend here. Love you, thank you. And of course, you know, I can't say enough about the Alumni Association. The board's been together since 2004, and it's pretty much the same group. So we keep trotting on. We are not going to let the ship go down. But we do, you know, do events to provide scholarships to graduating seniors, not to put a plug in there. So we're going to start coming up with some more events so that you can participate in and we can pay forward to our students and to our alumni. Carla mentioned about the Historical Society is a recent passion. I'm learning so much about Wickliffe and Millionaire's Mile and the estates, of which one of these we are in the Corian estate today. But who knew that the great men of Cleveland would spend their summers in Wickliffe on their farms raising prize-winning cattle, and they also bred racehorses. And I will be giving another presentation on the great estates of Wickliffe soon. So look for that, look for that advertising. But I do want to mention my newest endeavor. It's the Italian Garden Project, and it's chronicling Italian gardens across the United States. And we're submitting those gardens to the Smithsonian Institute in Washington, D.C. So how could I pass working with the Smithsonian? So its mission, I want to talk about the mission: preserve old world traditions and food for the future generations that can lead to a brighter, more sustainable future. So we're looking for gardeners who brought something from Italy back in the day, stories of fig trees sewn into their sleeves and seeds in their pockets. So if you know anybody, let me know. And last but not least, I want to thank my husband, Dave. because he is my expert in Photoshop, Word, Excel, anything. There's things I don't even know about that he does for me. I've learned a lot from him, but every group that I participate in has benefited from his expertise, so kiss, kiss, Steve. And again, I want to thank you for the honor, and congratulations to my new friends in the Hall of Fame.
Okay, for our next inductee, class of 1979, James Sizzleman, and to induct him is Francine Sizzleman.
Hello, everybody. I'm Francine Zisselman, class of '79, also a beneficiary of Wickliffe's beautiful and great education. Many people ask me if Jim and I knew each other in high school. I always say I knew of him because Jim was a standout at Wickliffe High, performing in many plays and musical recitals. So it's no surprise that Jim has been a standout and high achiever in his personal and professional career. After achieving his bachelor's and master's degree in mechanical engineering from Case, Jim pursued a lifelong dream of working in the automotive industry. I personally have witnessed his many career achievements, and there are many. Jim is currently president and CEO and member of the Stonebridge Board of Directors. Prior to joining Stonebridge, Jim was the vice president of engineering and program management for Aptiv, where he had overarching responsibility for the engineering function and supported the company's transition from Delphi. He spent more than 20 years with Delphi, leading a variety of technical business teams for the powertrain and electronics division, and taking responsibility for the innovation, development, and execution of all safety, automated, and infotainment programs. He's also a member of the board of directors of LunaWave, a startup focused on transportation and radar systems. Jim has gained a reputation in the automotive industry as an innovator and a leader who garners respect from his coworkers and professional colleagues around the world. Our son Matt and Jim's siblings Joyce, Ed, and Janet, along with his brother-in-law Keith and sister-in-law Regina, are here this evening to share in this honor, and we are all very proud of Jim's achievements. He's a great husband, father, and cares deeply about his family. I am pleased and honored to introduce my husband, Jim.
Okay. Francine talked about a reputation. Might not all be good. So, in any event, good evening, everyone. It's really great to be here in Wickliffe and at this wonderful event. I couldn't be more thrilled to be honored by the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association group here. It's really fantastic. And what a group I'm sharing the stage with, right? The accomplishments and the skills and talents of the people being recognized tonight are really quite exemplary, quite impressive. I actually have a very close friend, Mr. John Verlis, there in the back as one of the awardees tonight. We go back throughout high school. We went to Case Western Reserve together. So there are some things that I just can't say about John, and you better not say those things about me either, all right? Just for the record. In any event, I'm very happy that Francine and my son Matt are here, and all of my siblings and siblings-in-law. I really appreciate you coming out to support me tonight. So where do I start, really? And I thought I wanted to talk about influencers, and not the TikTok influencers, right? Influencers that made a very big difference in my life. And, even though, Francine and I and Matt, we've been away from Wickliffe for a long time. We were gone for 40 years. And in fact, we're technically Florida residents, and we summer in Cleveland, here in Ohio. So I promised everyone that I'd come back after I retired. I tried to retire, failed, but I came back anyway. And it's really great to be back, with the family, where your roots are, right? The village is so important to the family unit. And I tell you, some of the memories I have on these influencers, it feels like yesterday, right? It really does, even though we've been gone so long and they are so far in the distant past. And, no one can deny, the influence that your family has on you as you grow up, your parents, right? Your siblings, the things that they really help you with, getting you to be a principles-based person, causing you to really think through things about yourself, looking yourself in the mirror and taking action on things that may not be as strong as they could be, right? And making sure that you're focused on those things and you're making yourself better every single day. The insistence on respect, right? Those are the kinds of things you learn from your family. And in some cases, for me, shockingly, I was sort of a shy person. Most people today would never guess that I was shy. And there were many influencers in my life, including people in my family sitting at that table, that helped me break out of my shell. And to me, that is the most important thing that caused me to be able to truly excel in my life. There's no question. But I do want to tell a family story. And I've told the story many times in front of the family, and they're probably tired of hearing it, but I do want to say it again in front of this public forum. So when I was a young child, age 4, I was interested in reading. And I didn't know how to read, but my big sister sitting here at the table worked with me. She helped me sound out words, bat and walk and all these words that are tough. And it was a slow process, like any child going from, being able to speak to being able to read. That transition is a difficult transition. So my sister actually taught me to read. She taught me to read before I entered kindergarten. So that's Joyce sitting back there. And interestingly, I have to talk about her technique because it was absolutely priceless. So I'm walking through these words and I'm saying, wow, this is tough. I mean, my gosh, how many words are there like that? How long does this take? She actually hands me the dictionary. Says, that's it, right? Left me with the dictionary. And this is a true story. And literally, I started walking through that dictionary, picking out words and learning words, and then she would help me. And I actually learned how to read before kindergarten. It's really quite impressive. Not for me, for her to go through that, kind of stress to get her little brother to actually read. But look, I had many other influencers too. And many of those influencers are really the staff and the teachers from Wickliffe City Schools. Some of these people are people that absolutely changed my life. And not just me, right? These teachers were so dedicated, so committed, teaching students or counseling students like they were their own children, right? Really wanting to make a difference in the life of the student. Not just doing a job, but really insisting on getting something done for that student to really help improve them. And I'd like to actually name some of these teachers. Now, I know there's a few teachers here. Please don't be insulted if I don't mention your name. But these are the ones, for me, that made an enormous difference. I'm going to go in the order in which I met them. First one from grade school in Warden Elementary, Marilyn Davidson. Marilyn Davidson was just a regular teacher. I've actually connected back with her as late as 2010, right? So many, many years after I graduated, she actually came to my father's funeral looking me up because she saw the obituary, saw the name, saw my name listed in there, and said, I think that's him. And we really connected at that point. And she was a very engaging teacher. She was very encouraging. She challenged students even at age 10, right, to really make a difference. She enabled students actually to see their strengths and really build upon those strengths. And it's the first time I recognized that as a young boy, that she was actually doing that. And she was doing it for a lot of people. The next teacher, and hoot and holler if you recognize any of these names, is Irene Rakis. And I actually looked her up as well. And through the help of my, tech-savvy son, we were able to track her down. And I spoke with her also. And look, this, Irene Rakis was a tough lady, right? She could be harsh, right? But she took the time to also understand her students and help them focus again where the growth was necessary. She really made a big difference. She was also the drama coach in the middle school. And as drama coach in the middle school, she really pulled a lot of people out of their shy selves, pulled them actually onto the stage. She did that for me, right? She put me on the stage for the first time. And, for that, I will be forever grateful. Really a job well done. And interestingly, she left teaching shortly after we went through middle school in this class of 78. And she went into the paralegal field, and she had left all of that teaching and all those memories behind. So it was really special when I called her, and I really started going through a lot of the history that she had really put in a back room in her brain. And she came to tears over time in that discussion as she started to realize and recall the things and the influences she had on those students at that time. And then still in the middle school, but this individual also crossed over to the high school, is Peter Wolfgram. And I think a lot of you know Peter Wolfgram. And what a guy, right? Just a fabulous coach, a performer, a brilliant teacher, a brilliant teacher, an excellent mathematician. And one of the things that he did is that he helped people be their best self. And he was so broad, right, in his approach, right? He wasn't just a math teacher, right? He taught me algebra, but he wasn't just a math teacher. For kids that wanted to focus in sports, he was there for them and could help. For kids that wanted to focus on theater and the arts, he was there for them and they can help. I know there's some people in this room tonight that benefited from that kind of coaching. I've seen you in here. And, he's struggling now, but he, again, is one of those individuals that for as long as I'm alive, I'll be thankful for what he did for me. And then, fully in the high school, I like to also recognize Mary Soul. And Mary Soul was a counselor, right? And Mary Soul, she epitomized the definition of being a counselor. She did so well at really engaging students. No topic was off limits with Mary Soul. And that's back in a time when any topic was allowed, right? And she really did a lot for students to keep them on the straight and narrow and, keep people from depression and, cause people to actually solve their problems or give them the skills to solve problems and not dwell on those problems, dwell on the solution. She did that so well. And then I'd like to also, end this, section here with Michael Leninsky. I think everyone knows Michael Leninsky. Outside of the sports programs, he really was the face of Wickliffe City Schools. He truly was. He attracted so many students to his programs, and he had, those individuals participating in so many outside performances that he truly became the face of Wickliffe Schools in many ways. I mean, how many of you performed in the choir on television every Christmas, right, where they went down and they recorded the choir singing, right? That was, the brainchild of our music leader, Michael Leninsky. So he taught us to be professional. He taught us how to perform, and again, forever thankful. But in any event, I can't say enough about the commitment to those folks in that school system. And not just a job. They truly wanted to help children and really educate, and they did. Now a little bit about me. I'll go beyond some of the things that Francine said, and I know you read the program probably as well. And I obviously had a lot of engineering and business leadership roles over the years, and now approaching 40 years in this industry as well. I spent 3 decades in engine control, emissions control, and powertrains, and a full decade in the electronic space and infotainment and active safety systems and those sorts of things. And during this time, I was awarded 10 U.S. patents, which I'm very proud of, and was involved in many different forums and featured in many different publications as an expert in the industry. And I'm proud of those things too. But what I'm really the most proud of is the work that I did, the work that I was involved in, really made a difference for the world. It made a difference for society. Let me give you a couple of statistics here. First off, when you look at these various products that I was involved in, for the most part, they make the world safer, greener, and more connected. So let's talk about the greener element first. Some of the things that I helped innovate, things like advanced fuel injection systems, advanced exhaust emission systems, electronic engine computers and the software associated with those. These types of products helped reduce toxic emissions from vehicles, from cars, by 99%, from 1970 to today. So you think about that. In 1970, a car would go a certain distance on the road. It would emit 100 grams of CO, carbon monoxide. Today, same size car, 1 gram. From 100 to 1. Really impressive. At the same time, those technologies that I helped bring to market, helped develop and innovate, allowed us to double the fuel economy. So cars that got 15 miles per gallon get 30 miles per gallon today. Doubled the fuel economy. All while increasing horsepower by 80%. By 80%. So my brother bought a new car. It's a 4-cylinder car. It's got 80 more horsepower than the V8 car he drove in the 70s. That's the kind of benefit that we're talking about with 100 times less emissions. Really, really quite impressive. Let me end here with a question, and maybe a few comments around the question. Does anyone know how many people died on American highways in traffic fatalities in 2022? Anyone know? Who wants to give a guess? 150,000. That's a very large number. It's not quite that large, but it is 43,000 people. And that number had steadily been coming down over the years. But think about that. 43,000 people have been dying on our roads essentially for the last 10 years. Right? So one of the things I am currently involved with the current position I have as CEO, and things I've done for the last 10 years are in that space. What are the kinds of things that we can be doing to really get those things in control? So sophisticated airbag systems for control of the body in a crash. Collision detection systems which are quite apparent on a lot of cars today. Automatic emergency braking systems, quite popular today, and the insurance companies really like them. Automated driving, or the active safety, where it's lane keep assist or blind spot detection. These are the kinds of technologies that I've been bringing to market for the last 10 years, both the sensor side for radars and cameras and that sort of thing, but also the electronics and all the software that goes along with being able to bring this stuff to market. And it's really important to me. It's important to me for every single life it saves. For every single life it saves. I could work the rest of my life on this kind of stuff, knowing that there's a sustainable improvement that can really impact society, for the rest of time. So maybe with that, I'll end it. Again, thanks to my entire family. I love all of you, and thanks for supporting me. And even through the tough times when I can be difficult, I really do appreciate that. Right, you stuck with me. And again, congratulations to all the other honorees here tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James. Congratulations and welcome to the Hall of Fame. Our next inductee is John Verlis, class of 1980, and here to induct him is Samina Verlis.
That would be his sister, Sabina. John has been a very good brother for the most part, with the exception of trying to poke my eyes out when I was coming home from the hospital. Never, ever, ever letting me play Batman when we played Batman and Robin, and always being the good child. Other than that, he's been a wonderful brother and a very good friend. My brother was always smart, just crazy smart. He graduated salutatorian in his class of 1980 as a result of a B in typing. The valedictorian got an A. But at his graduation, something really interesting happened. We saw a part of John that I don't think anybody, including his lifelong friends who are here, had any inkling of. John gave a graduation speech that was really a precursor to hip hop. It was, if you ever have a chance to look at the yearbook for 1980, read his graduation speech, because it was a rhyming story of Wickliffe, Ohio, and high school. John went off to Case Western Reserve University and became a rocket scientist and got a fabulous job at NASA, which he decided was too boring. So he quit his job, which caused my father, who had a Greek temper, to about blow his stack, and went off to film school at USC, which is where Steven Spielberg graduated from, and became a filmmaker. After 20 years in LA, John returned to Wickliffe to help take care of my parents, and one of his lifelong friends, Dan Gotti, who's sitting over there, took him to his first bocce tournament, which I understand is happening this weekend. And John had nothing better to do, so he went, and he fell in love. And that ended up being his first documentary, which you already heard about, Breaking Balls. If you haven't seen it, it's a fun movie. But the beauty of that movie is that he really embraces Wickliffe, Ohio, his hometown. He loves this city. He loves the people in it. And it was a love letter to the Italians in this community, but also to Wickliffe itself. John's gone on to make some more films, write a book. Actually, he also wrote a textbook. He teaches film at Cleveland State, and he's currently working on several documentaries. And he's still a good brother. And with that, I would love for all of you to meet my brother, John Vorlis.
Just, right? They asked me when I was told I was going to be inducted if I had a picture. And I was traveling in Europe at the time. I'm like, maybe I could find one when I got home. So they told me, well, we have this one, but it's got this big circle around it. Is that okay? I'm like, I remember that picture. I remember it so well. I remember the day I took it, and yeah, that was me. First of all, I just want to thank a lot of people here tonight. First of all, the Wickliffe School Alumni Association. This is quite an honor, as my sister said. I really do love Wickliffe. In some ways, it's full circle for me. Like Odysseus, and Jim Zizelman, I left Wickliffe for a very long time. I was gone for 20 years, not quite 40, but 20. And when I came back with a very different perspective of the city that I had left. A deep, deep love for all that had been given to me, not just by my family, my parents, who were lifelong Wickliffers once they got here. They never left. so many of them so well. And when I think about it today, I think how lucky, you know, how lucky could somebody be to just land in a small little town that nobody knows anything about and get the kind of education, the kind of mentorship, the kind of love, the kind of nurturing, the kind of friendships that really last a lifetime and make a profound, profound, profound impact on the person standing in front of you today. And that's really what I want to talk about for the remainder of the time I'm up here. I was thinking about this when I was told by Sharon Inman, who cannot be here tonight, that she wanted to nominate me for this award. And I thought, well, why would you want to do that? I mean, it seemed to me a little wacky. I know a lot of amazing people from Wickliffe. I'm flattered to be included among the people here tonight and all the people who have been inducted over the years. But I don't really know in my heart, I guess, why I should be up here and why other people I know personally, aren't. It's just, is it lucky? Did I do something wonderful and amazing that got me up here? I thought about this for a long time. I thought, you know, what does it, when you get to our age, Jim, you start thinking about what led you here, why, how do you measure success? An award like this, an achievement like this, seems to me to say something about success. And that's an interesting concept to me because in some ways, I've always kind of chased it a little bit. And it's led me to some strange and interesting places. But as I was thinking about it, I was thinking, what is it about me that I would define as successful? Is it money? Definitely not. I don't have a lot. I don't need a lot. I don't want a lot. Is it fame? Well, I'm not that famous except if you go down to the INA, and then everybody knows me because of Breaking Balls, which was one of the great experiences of my life. Is it because I have had some interesting jobs, which I definitely have? I've been to the Academy Awards, I've been to the Emmy Awards, I've worked at NASA, as Samina said. These are pretty interesting places to be, things to do, places to go. But those things I don't think, for me, are what are the measure of my success. And I was talking to my sister about this one day. We were driving somewhere, and she was saying, you know something? And we were talking about a friend of mine. I can't even remember who it was. She goes, you have a lot of cool friends. And I thought, you know what? You're right. I think that's the one great thing that I personally have been blessed with in my life is friends. Good friends. Friends that have literally changed my life in some ways, profound ways. And there are 4 of them, 5 of them sitting here tonight with me. And I want to tell you a little bit about them and how they changed me. I was listening to Jim talk about being shy, which I find very funny because I've known Jim a long time, and that's the last word I would use to describe Jim. But I was incredibly introverted as a child. I didn't want to go to school. When I first went, it was one of the most traumatic experiences of my life. My mother walked me down the street, down Elm Street, down Lincoln, over to Lincoln Elementary, left me at the door, and I threw a fit. I did not want to go to school. I did not want to be there. I wanted to stay home with my mom and my stuff and just be who I was as a 5 and 6 year old. But that was not the way life was going to treat me. So out the door I went, and I remained pretty introverted for quite a long time. And then in junior high, I started to meet some really interesting people. People that were not introverted, were exactly the polar opposite of that. And one of those people is sitting right back there at the table, Tom Fish. And Tom is a Hall of Famer in my estimation. He's one of the most interesting, talented people I know. If you have any children or grandchildren who play on Little Tykes toys, Tom has probably designed that toy. But Tom is the reason I'm standing up here. Because when I was in junior high and high school, I was, as I said, very shy, very introverted. I didn't want to do or know how to do anything. And one day, while we were at the dinner table, of all the people to come knocking on the front door, Tom Fish came knocking on the front door. What are you doing here? Well, we're going to the basketball game. Aren't you going to come? I'm like, what basketball game? He's like, oh, there's a game at the high school, blah, blah, blah. Like, he's just telling me. And so I turn and look at my dad, because I'm expecting my dad to say, no, you can't go. And my dad takes one look at Tom and says, sure, if you want to go, go. And that was the first time I really walked out the door in a way that was full of adventure. Like, what's going to happen now? And I could spend the rest of the year talking about what has happened since then with Tom Fish and myself and everybody that I've known. But that was the first time I really took a chance at being somebody that I wasn't sure I could be. And Tom is now married to my sister from another mister, my twin Beth. We both share the same birthday, which is coming up in a couple days. We won't say how old we are, Beth, but we know how old we are. And Beth has been a wonderful supporting friend for all that time. Every time I do some crazy thing, I publish a book, I make a movie, whatever I do, Tom and Beth are there to support me. And that is an amazing thing. To me, that's gold. Sitting across from Tom and Beth is my good friend Jamie Lombardo. Jamie is a saint because Jamie puts up with John. I am a creative person. I've become a very creative person. I make movies, I've written some books, I've done some interesting things. Jamie has been on every one of those rides. Mostly, I would say, well, I won't put words in his mouth. I feel like I've dragged him along with me on some of these adventures, for better and for worse. But every single one of those adventures that I went on, Jamie has made better with his talent. He's a remarkable artist. He did the posters for both of my movies. He laid out and designed the whole book I wrote about traveling to Nepal. We did a comic book together. I mean, I'm in awe of Jamie's talent. And I consider myself lucky to be his friend. And sitting next to Jamie is my old friend Dan Gotti, who Samina tells you the story. When I first came back to Wickliffe after 20 years of being gone, and really gone. I mean, I would come 4 times a year for holidays, but I lived in Los Angeles and my mind was in Los Angeles and my passions were in Los Angeles and all of it was in Los Angeles. And one day I came back from a trip to Nepal and I knew I was done with Los Angeles. And I knew my parents needed help and I knew that I could help them. And so I came back here to do that. And I almost immediately got bored, got nervous. What am I gonna do? Why am I here? Can I really help these people? And then out of the blue, I got a phone call from Dan. Hey, there's this bocce tournament down the street you know, at the INA, do you want to come down there and, you know, I'm like, sure. Well, it's this beautiful August night. Am I going to sit in the house, right? Or am I going to take the lesson that Tom Fish gave me, get up off my you know what, and go out with Dan to this little bocce tournament, which I had no idea what it was going to be about. None, zero. When I left, bocce was played in the backyard with the Lorenzos and the Brochettis and all my Italian neighbors, and that's all I knew about bocce. So Dan came and picked me up. We got in the car. We drove down Hazel, down 290th, onto Euclid Avenue, crossed Lloyd Road, and all of a sudden there was a traffic jam on Euclid Avenue in Wickliffe on a Friday night. I just started laughing. I'm like, what's going on? Why is there traffic? He goes, oh, this bocce thing is kind of big. I'm like, really? So 10 minutes later, we get to where the bocce tournament is, right there near the corner of Warden where Bailey Meter is. And there's nowhere to park. There's cars everywhere, people everywhere. I'm starting to get a little unnerved, like, what is going on here? We park, we walk down the hill, all you can hear is music, all you can hear is people laughing, talking, not just talking English, but talking Italian. We get down there, and it looks like Mardi Gras to me down there. I'm stunned and amazed, and I turn to Dan, and I'm like, what is going on here? And he goes, I told you, it's bocce. And I'm like, somebody should make a movie about this. And I had just gotten a job teaching film at Cleveland State. I had met all these amazing young people who wanted to be filmmakers, and suddenly I got re-excited about film, which I had spent 20 years banging my head against a brick wall, trying to get some kind of success in that business. And all I had to do was come home to Wickliffe, get in the car with Dad, drive down to the INA and see this and get inspired. And long story short, I made a movie. It was a hugely successful festival film. We sold out the Cleveland Film Festival 4 times. Samina probably remembers this, but I was running from screening to screening, introducing the film, and it was an amazing experience. And Tom and Beth and Dan and everybody was there, and Tom said he had the best description of the movie I think I've ever heard from anybody. And he said, you made a beautiful little love letter to Wickliffe. And that had not been my intention at all, right? I just wanted to tell the story of this amazing little bocce tournament, and it turned out that that's what I had done. And it kind of brought me, I think, full circle to really appreciating Wickliffe and what Wickliffe gave to me, and maybe a little bit of what I gave back. A small amount. So that's what brings me here tonight, really, that film and a few other interesting side projects. I just finished another film, much more ambitious. It's about how the foreclosure crisis basically devastated the city of Cleveland and how Cleveland tried to recover from it. That movie's called The House Next Door. It will be coming out hopefully this year. It's another movie I'm very proud of. I'm almost as proud of being a Clevelander as I am a Wickliffe person. Like, if you ask me where I'm from, I will tell you Wickliffe. And then you will ask me, where's Wickliffe? And I'll say, well, do you know where Cleveland is? Do you know where the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is? And then people will know where I'm from. But I'm from Wickliffe. I am Wickliffe through and through. I live in Wickliffe again. I live in the house I grew up in. I've been remodeling it all summer. My sister can tell you how much I've enjoyed that. It's been a pain in the you know what, but it's home. Wickliffe is home. It's been home, it was home, and I left home, and when I came back 20 years later, that's what I realized, right? This place is my home. And I'm deeply, deeply thankful, first of all, to Sharon Inman for nominating me for the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association, to giving me this honor, for being here and being able to be with my good buddy Jim and so many other wonderful inductees. You people are all amazing. I love you all. And I get to be here with my sister, who is my foxhole companion this whole crazy journey. She's been there from day one, even when I tried to poke her eyes out, which I don't remember, by the way. I'm only told this, right? So thank you, everybody. It's really, it's no words I can say can ever really explain the feeling I have about being home. But I guess the best thing I can say is that, you know, when they ask you what success is, I would say 90% of it is hard work and 90% of it is just good luck. And my good luck was being born in Wickliffe and having friends like Tom and Dan and Jamie and my sister and Beth, and some of them couldn't be here tonight. You guys are all Hall of Famers in my mind, so thank you.
Very inspiring. Thank you, John. A couple things. I would be remiss if I didn't say hi to Selena. She's also an 82 grad. I'm sorry I missed you earlier. I didn't see that you were here. I have to always shout out for 82. The other thing is, Dave Price wanted me to remind you that the bocce ball tournament happens to start tomorrow and runs all through the weekend. So if you get a few moments to run down there and experience that beautiful picture he painted, you have the opportunity to do so. Also, I work at Case Western Reserve as a communications manager, so that the two of you went there, that's fabulous. Our next inductee from the class of 1985, Mark Tromba, will be inducted by Kelly Tromba.
Hi, everybody. I got the call from the bullpen because Coach Smith couldn't be here tonight. We love Coach Smith. When my daughters were young kids at Wickliffe schools, he was the superintendent, and every day he would be outside with his cute little earmuffs, and he would, rain, snow, sleet, he was out there opening car doors. So we love Coach Smith, is one of our favorites. I know the next nominee very well. I've known him for almost 30 years now. And I will tell you a short little story real quick about him. I know a lot of stories about him, but if you want to hear the good ones, just see me afterwards. So in 1994, I got a call on the telephone, old rotary phone, and I picked it up, and the only question the caller asked was, "Can you get a tuxedo quickly? I need a tuxedo quickly." And I got kind of mad because I said, "Well, where are you going? To a wedding?" He didn't ask me. We weren't dating at the time. He said, "No, I'm not going to a wedding. I'm about to introduce the President of the United States, Bill Clinton. He's going to throw the first pitch out at Jacobs Field." So I said, "Okay, I can get you a tuxedo." And the rest is history. He made a lifetime out of introducing people, so I'll make this quick. It is my honor and my pleasure. I can't roll my R's, though, like you did. It's my honor and pleasure to introduce 1985 graduate of Wickliffe High School, Mark Tromba.
All right, first question is, can everybody see me above the podium? Are we good? I have about 12 pages of notes here. So I am out, Terry, for the all-time record of Mr. Ronaldo's 42-minute speech in the, are we good? Just kidding, breathe. It's okay. First off, I want to congratulate all the honorees tonight and all of the past honorees in the Achievement and the Sports Hall of Fame. So congratulations. Want to thank my wife Kelly, you just met her. My daughter Samantha, son-in-law Spencer. Unable to be here tonight, our youngest daughter Victoria. She is in her 5th year of pharmacy school at Ohio Northern. Hi Vic, if you could see me. Also want to thank my amazing parents, Frank and Bonnie Tromba. I want to especially thank my sister Lisa, who nominated me, brother-in-law Jeff, niece Emma, all Wickliffe High School graduates. Also want to thank all of those 2 tables of all of our family, friends, and loved ones. So thank you for being here. I want to thank the Wickliffe Alumni Association Committee allowing me to be part of this and for the outstanding evening here tonight. Not many schools do these types of things, so we're very appreciative of Wickliffe, both in the Achievement and the Sports Hall of Fame. Now, I am not the smartest guy in the world, so, you know, I was taught in Wickliffe, and I think you heard that a few times here tonight, work hard, okay? My parents are great examples of that, work hard. So everything that I do, I think, you know, that's what I put. I'm not the smartest guy, but work hard. And that's what I was taught. That's what I was taught at Wickliffe. Wickliffe is a community, work hard, right? We were always, Coach Knackley, you know, we were never the biggest team out there in football. We worked hard, and that's how we succeeded. So that was ingrained in me. Now, I played sports at Wickliffe, okay? I played sports, found out quickly that I was never, ever going to be part of the Athletic Hall of Fame, okay? So I played football, baseball. I stopped playing basketball for obvious reasons here, okay? So does everybody remember Mr. Glinka, right? I was on the 8th grade Mr. Glinka team, and I was so far down the bench, I think the seat was in Willoughby, all right? You know, I didn't play much. Remember they had the mojo quarters, you know, so all the poor saps that didn't get a second in the game, they'd have this extra quarter, make somebody feel good, you know, 5 minutes or 8 minutes or whatever it is. I should actually go into the Athletic Hall of Fame, Terry. I want to petition because I think I'm the only one that ever fouled out in 5 minutes. I think I made it happen. So that mojo quarter. So I quickly knew that, but I love sports. I wanted to be around sports. You know, my dad's a sports nut. We watched everything. So, you know, the love for sports. I would do the play-by-play in high school during the games. Baseball. I would be in the field and here's the wind and the 1-2 pitch. And we would just have fun with it. Coach Knackley, right? High school football, we'd be stretching on the field before practice. All 10 minutes, we'd be bitching about the Indians. You know, it's like, what the hell happened? What was Brooke Jacoby thinking? You know, we'd sit there and for 10 minutes till the whistle blew, that's what we'd talk about. You know, it was all about sports. So Ray Milovic, you know, Coach Milovic, he was a big influence on me. You know, when I was in high school, he was the PA announcer for the Cavaliers. So I got to go see Ray perform at the Coliseum. So that was very exciting. Was also privileged to be trained by Nev Chandler and Joe Tate. That was really neat. You know, I interned at Channel 5, so I spent a lot of time with Nev. Was in the booth with him for some Browns games. Joe Tate, you know, God bless him. I would send him cassette tapes, dating myself, cassette tapes of my play-by-play. And about 2 weeks later, he would send me back a letter that was handwritten, like 5 or 6 pages, critiquing it. Work on this. This was really good. So I really just enjoyed the broadcast. So Edinboro University, we've got a few grads here tonight. I know Tara coming up next, Matt DeLisa over there, so we're all Wickliffe alum and Edinboro University alum, but went into communications, graduated '89, and I was working at the campus radio station doing the college football and college basketball games. Following college, I went down to Ambridge, Pennsylvania, outside Pittsburgh, WMBA. Ironically, last 3 letters of my last name, which was kind of bizarre, but that worked out well. I got my first year there, and then I transitioned into WELW in Willoughby. And my greatest accomplishment in broadcasting was meeting my beautiful wife at WELW. We worked, she did news, I did sports. So, you know, at the dinner table, he's like, hey, and let's switch over to Kellen. And so I got to tell you this story, though. One of the shows we hosted in small market radio, when you start out in radio, you're starting out down here, okay? So we were doing a show called Radio Bingo. Did you ever hear this? You know what that is? I didn't either. But here's how it worked. So we'd have these sheets, these bingo sheets. There'd be 8 bingo cards on each sheet. And we would strategically place them in stores and restaurants, and people can go, and each of them had a unique number on it. So we would call the numbers on the air, and if somebody got bingo, then they would call up, they'd give us that number, we would double check, everything, and they would win. So I got to tell you that was probably the low point of my radio career. And let me tell you why. We did this show, and after the first few shows, we had an older audience. These women would call up me, and after somebody won, you're cheating, you son of a gun, you're doing this, that, everything else. It was like an onslaught of these old ladies chasing and calling and swearing and screaming. So we're doing the show on the one day. Now, the ground in the radio in the booth was tile. So we had the little cage with the marbles, and we'd play a couple songs, couple commercials, and we'd come back from the commercial break, and we'd call 5 numbers, then we'd go back a couple songs, couple commercials, come back. And so we're moving along in the game, and I'm doing it. It's nice and quiet, and I turn the cage, and mistakenly the door popped open, and all the marbles, you could just hear them banging off the tile, bang, bang, and all of a sudden you see all 10 lines just light up on the phone lines. You cheat! I knew it. You did. These people were out of their mind. For a $5 movie ticket, I was afraid for my life. So Radio Bingo was probably the low light. But from WELW, moved on to WTAM, which is the old 3WE, got to work with Mike Trevisano, Mike Snyder, did weekend sports, Indians pregame shows, got hired, with the Indians. It was funny. I'll tell you a story of this. When Matt DeLisa and we roomed together at Edinburgh, and we've known each other most of our lives. Well, at Edinburgh, I got a subscription to Sports Illustrated. So in 1987, I get my Sports Illustrated. And on the Sports Illustrated, on the cover, remember this? Corey Snyder, Joe Carter on there. The Cleveland Indians are going to win the World Series. Amen. Finally, one of our teams are going to do something, right? Anybody know how that finished in 1987? 61 wins and 101 losses. Dead last. Okay, then you rip up the Sports Illustrated and you move on. A couple years later, our senior year, Edinburgh, movie Major League came out. Everybody remember the movie Major League? Vaughn, a juvenile delinquent in the offseason, threw his own kid in a father-son game. Remember that? Bob Uecker? Okay. So we go to the movie theater, we watch it. And my professor says, oh man, you're an Indians fan, you're going to get goosebumps, you're going to love this thing. And I watched the movie and I said, wow, this is really, really cool. I did get goosebumps. When is that ever going to happen? When the Indians actually cheer in front of 42,500 fans every game at Jacobs Field, and probably the most exciting time in Indians baseball that we'll probably see. You had all those sellouts and just the energy, but I kind of thought back to the comparisons to those teams. Willie Mays Hayes, Kenny Lofton, Serrano, Albert Bell. You look at some of the similarities. You look at how they were winning games. That was just an exciting moment. 1984, when the ballpark opened, it was a strike-shortened season. 95, we won just about every ninth inning. There was just magic. Remember how Tom Hamilton, the Jacobs Field magic is back again. And it was just, every game was just exciting. I will tell you, and I could sit up here for hours telling you about stories about the Indians and behind the scenes, but Albert Bell. Albert was just a little bit Jekyll and Hyde. So one day he'd walk by and, hey, how you doing? You know, and the next day you walk back, you know, he's got an aggravated look on his face and he just plows through, doesn't say anything, even, you know, it's like, hey, Albert, hey, Albert. Straight line to the dugout. So one of the days he was not in a good mood. In our booth in Jacobs Field, it was like a television studio. So you had cameras, you had, you know, cameras all over the ballpark. I mean, there was probably 20 or 30 cameras out there. You could see everything. So Albert, he told us before the game, behind me was the sound engineer and the music director. So we would do the walk-up songs, and then I'd introduce them, and, you know, they'd fade it out by the time they got in the batter's box. Albert Bell said, I don't want any walk-up music for today's game. Okay. So we got creative. Hell's Bells we would play, or we did, you know, Ring the Bells. So the first time he comes up, you know, we played Hell's Bells. You could, you know, ground out, kind of half jogs back to the dugout. Next one, pop up. And we were playing, you know, Ringing the Bells in Jacobs Field. Third time he struck out, just crawled back to the dugout, just holding up the game. Next time, ground out. So he came back, and we had a camera in the dugout looking at Albert Bell and how he was walking back. There was a phone in the dugout. He got on the phone real quick and you could just see him just lighting somebody up. And he was just screaming. You could tell, you know, it was probably 40 F-bombs in about a 10-second span. He was just going off, and then he just pounded that phone back onto the set. And like, what is he doing? What's going on? Phone rings about 5 seconds later. He thought he was calling us to stop playing the music. He called a waiter at the Terrace Club. Can you imagine a waiter? I mean, he had to be pretty darn shocked at what he was hearing. So broadcasting was very near and dear to me. I was the public address announcer for Madison High School. That's where we raised our kids. And also 700 play-by-play games in high school, college, and was fortunate enough to do 300 Major League Baseball games. So that was certainly a thrill. On the side, I said, you know what, raising a family, I need to go make some money. So I got into sales, worked at Cisco Foods for 22 years, 8.5 as a VP of sales in Cleveland. And about 2019, I kept getting chased by a new company, Performance Food Service, which is PFG. They recruited me out to Austin, Texas. So both our kids were in college. I said, you know what, it's time for an adventure. So we moved out to Austin, Texas, and was there for 3 years. And when we landed in Texas, I'll give you a good stat here, it's something to write down. When I got there, I said, you know, being Italian, I says, hey, where's Little Italy? And the three guys in the cowboy hats looked at me and said, you're it. And so pizza and spaghetti and pasta out that way, don't do it. Barbecue, the Mexican, was pretty darn good. But Texas was very good to us, very hot. But I was the only Italian out of 29 million people in the state of Texas. So that was really exciting. You know, from Austin, Texas, got promoted a year ago, same company as the executive vice president, Performance Food Service in Pittsburgh, PA. People ask me every time I mention that, are you a Steelers fan? I said, listen, I don't mind the Pirates if they're not playing the Indians. I don't mind the Penguins if they're not playing the Blue Jackets. I will take a bullet before I root for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, we've been in Pittsburgh and Latrobe for the last year, so we're enjoying our time there. And it's always great to be a quick drive back to Northeast Ohio and to Wickliffe. You know, all the accomplishments that I've had in my career, you know, none greater than building a family and watching them grow and serve the Lord. And want to personally congratulate, as I wrap it up, I will not break Mr. Ronaldo's record. I'm sorry about that. But I want to congratulate all the inductees tonight, all past, in both the Athletic and the Achievement Hall of Fame. So I thank you again. What a great evening. And I want to thank my family and friends here and everybody for being here tonight. Coach Knackley, Mr. Benz, I'll have to see you afterwards, sir. That's what he used to tell me. I'll see you after class. But thank you, everyone, and God bless you.
That's great. It always takes me back. I started it in radio as well. My first station, Mark, was in Millersburg, Ohio, making all of $11,000 a year as their evening jock. And I was, they were having the Holmes County Fair. And they said, Dave, go out there and do live broadcasts at the fair. Great. The news director reaches out to me a morning and he goes, hey, this afternoon, Kathy from the midday shift, I ever doing something else. I need you to go over and do the cow chip promotion. What? The cow chip promotion? Turns out they build this big field, or they take this big field, they put big squares, about 50 of them, in chalk, and they have like 4 or 5 cows walk around and people buy a number. And the first cow that drops into that square with that number is a winner. Right? You can appreciate that. But also just know that currently, Leah, Frank, let me know if this is right, people can be nominating Wickliffe High School alumni for the Athletic Hall of Fame, which will take place in a year from now. And then in 2 years is the next Achievement Hall of Fame. So if you want to make a big push for Mark for the Athletic Hall of Fame, you can go for it. Okay, thank you. Our next inductee, the class of 1991, Tara Murphy Seibel, being introduced and inducted by Bob Murphy.
Hi everyone, can everyone see me now? Just kidding, Mark. Congratulations to all the inductees. I'm here for my sister Tara. Tara began her professional artistic career in Chicago illustrating covers for restaurant menus and food packaging. One of her first menus she designed was for Michael Jordan's restaurant. Eventually, she moved back to Cleveland. She was hired as a line designer and illustrator for American Greetings, where she designed and illustrated gift wrapping and greeting cards. Her work from American Greetings was on national TV on the David Letterman show when they showed a couple with Tara's pins that she developed, and David Letterman actually commented on it. When Tara came back to Cleveland, she made friends and collaborated with the late Harvey Pekar. Harvey made a movie about Harvey called American Splendor, which was a magazine that he wrote. Tara was the last illustrator for Harvey and the only illustrator that collaborated with Harvey on a comic strip called Rock City, which was published in several national alternative newspapers and journals. Some of her other publications they had were the Pekar Project, Comics, Comedians, and many more. She is currently working on a children's book, a graphic novel, and a cartoon mural that will be displayed in Presty's Bakery. As a sister, she was a pioneer for both me and my sister Lauren growing up. She created friendships with teachers and administrators, which made our lives easier going through the Wickliffe High School. It was a lot easier going through with Tara, and all the teachers loved me because of Tara. So that really helped me out a lot. She influenced us to go to college and to succeed in life, and was always there when we needed her. Also, you know, I know this is the Achievement Hall of Fame, but Tara was a great athlete. She was a 3-year letterman for track. She could have been a 4-year letterman, but she was a majorette her senior year, which they went on and won awards with the band. So she was a great athlete, and I remember going to her track meets at a young age and watching her jump. So without further ado, my sister Tara.
Oh my God, I'm a wreck already. No. how I'm gonna do this. Thank you to the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association for recognizing me. This is like a really big deal. I told myself 1,000 times, do not cry. All right, I'm gonna pull myself together. Yes, it's a big deal. My parents both graduated from Wickliffe. My mother, my mom, she has 3 children in the Wickliffe Hall of Fame. Mom, can you stand up, please, for everybody? Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for pushing us to do all this stuff. I'm sorry, but no, seriously, thank you, Mom. Really appreciate it. And my father, my late father, was a huge influence on me growing up. In Wickliffe, I don't know if you guys know this, but Wickliffe had like a scene going on, a rock and roll scene started on the east side, and in the 60s, and my parents were part of it. You know, like my dad used to be he used to work with the bands when they would come into Cleveland, and I think he actually escorted the biggest rock and roll, Chuck Berry, when he came to Cleveland. My dad ushered him in. And, you know, so I grew up with some really interesting people around the house. Matter of fact, when my parents would have their friends over and everything, there was like a little stage in our living room on Waldenza, and during the party, I was the entertainment. I had to get up on the stage and sing, you know, Fats Domino songs and dance and everything for all my my parents, you know, rock and roll friends. So, anyways, yeah, I wanna thank my husband, Aaron. He's really been like the first thing I ever did right was marry him because he is just brilliant in his own right. He's an optical engineer, and he worked for NASA, and he's also, you know, has patents and things, but he's just a really good guy, and he's he's the love of my life, so I just wanted to say thank you to my husband. Bob, thank you so much for nominating me. I really appreciate it. And my sister too. She's I don't know if she's watching or not, but she's been a big influence for me as well growing up. In my household, it was pretty interesting. Like, you wouldn't think about it. I mean, today we didn't really think about it when it was happening, but we were doing a lot of very interesting, creative things in my home. You know, for instance, you know, my sister was writing a dream journal, and she became a psychologist, like a PhD, and so she was keeping that. I was writing diaries constantly, and my brother was listening to jazz music, and my father was writing scripts for his radio show. He had a talk radio show at WELW. Mark probably knows my father. And also, by the way, I remember you because from Edinburgh, you graduated a few years ahead of me, quite a bit. When did you graduate? 89. 89. Okay. So I was 96, but I had still heard about you because I was in the communications building, and I did a news show for a little while too, because I got my degree in communication arts as well. So graduated from Wickliffe High School, and I just wanted to say that there were a couple teachers that also stick out for me as well that I would like to mention. Mr. Elias was a big influence and kind of a mentor. He was a real artist. He was a musician, but he just had like this artist mentality. And if anybody took his class, you probably had to watch the movie Amadeus like 15 times. And so he had a couple sayings that he used to say: never settle for mediocrity, and don't ever rest on your laurels. And I always remembered those sayings. They stuck with me all the way till today. I just thought about it yesterday, one of his sayings. Mr. Analo I took his creative writing course my senior year, and that kind of sort of clicked for me that, I really enjoyed writing for the literary magazine that we had at the time called The Devil's Advocate. And I wrote a couple poems and I illustrated those, and those were published, and that was kind of like the beginning of sort of what I ended up doing was being, like a comic writer and illustrator. So it took a long, long way to get there. It's a very competitive thing. I mean, it's kind of like to be, an editorial illustrator. It's like being in, trying to break into Broadway. I mean, that's how competitive it is. So, yeah, and actually, I worked here, right in this room. Was my first job in my senior year of high school, and I was waitressing in here, trying to think about what am I gonna do? And let me tell you, folks, it's a long way to the top when you want to rock and roll. So, anyways, yeah, my children, I'm so proud of them. I mean, I'm so happy that I kept my career going. It was really hard, but when I met my husband, we lived in Chicago, and we had to move back. We moved back to Cleveland because he got a job at NASA, and we started our family. And I was working for American Greetings, but I left after I had my first child. And we were in a park in Chicago, and I met another mom there, and she had her child, and we were talking, and she told me, this mom in the park, she told me that she was an art director for a magazine in Chicago. It's called U.S. Catholic, and and so she had asked me what I did. I said, I'm an illustrator. I've done some work for Scene. I did some work for the Cleveland Free Times. She said, well, let me have your number. I'll hook you up with the art director. And it was a huge break. I got into that magazine, and I ended up illustrating really interesting, controversial articles and things like that for about 2.5 years. And by the way, side note, my daughter in the stroller, that's when she started to manage my career too, because she had already started talking to the person trying to figure out, is this the right decision for you, Mom? I don't know. We should talk about this. So yeah, and I really, that was a huge break because I started to get a bunch of work together, publish work, and then Aaron and I, we were in Chicago, and I missed home. I missed Cleveland, and so we walked down the street to this video store that we used to go to, and I saw this movie called American Splendor, and I remembered my best friend from home was saying, hey, Tara, you have to see this movie, and I was just always like, yeah, I'll get to it. I have a new baby at home and this and that. And so when I saw it, I was like, well, my best friend Amy, her name's Amy Bistock, by the way, and she's an actress, a very talented actress in Cleveland. She told me to see this movie, and so we brought it home, and I'm watching this movie with Harvey P. Carr in Cleveland, and seeing this writer, like, write stories about his life, have artists, draw them, and that he had this collaboration with this other artist who worked at American Greetings, Robert Crumb, and I'm watching this thing and I'm looking at Aaron, I'm like, you see this? Are you seeing this? Do you see what I see? Like, I was like, I see where I can fit into the art world here, I just had the feeling like I could see where I could possibly do something with my work. So, saw the movie, whatever, started doing some research into alternative comics that talked, that were autobiographical in nature. So this is like not in the superhero genre, but in a different genre that actually Harvey was started, which was, just talking about everyday life and turning those stories, Cleveland stories. If you haven't read it or looked it up or saw the movie, it's called American Splendor, and it's about living in Cleveland, and it's amazing. So please check that out. But this is absolutely insane. I was researching Harvey's work, researching other autobiographical comic artists' work, and then all of a sudden, Aaron had a job change. We moved back to Cleveland. We're sitting in my parents' dining room having breakfast, and Aaron sees in the paper that Harvey's going to be talking at Lakeland Community College. He's like, you've been studying this guy for the past year. You got to go to this. And I'm like, yeah, I do. So when I went there, when I got up to the room to listen to him speak about his book or whatever, there was only one seat open, and it was the one next to Harvey. And so I looked at it, and he said, take a seat, Took a seat and started talking. We started talking, and I mean, we started our collaboration, and I worked with him for 2.5 years after that. We just wrote all kinds of, I learned so much from him, how to write comics, how to adapt, literature into comic form, things like that. We had a lot of work published in, tons of publications, and even some publications that were pretty prestigious, like, the Jewish Review of Books and the Austin Chronicle, and just a bunch of stuff you probably wouldn't know, because it's very niche. It's very niche, but like, it was just amazing to work with someone on his level. It would be kind of like, literally like, writing music with like Neil Young, or singing with like Bruce Springsteen or something. It was just an amazing experience. So I was very happy. And then after working with him, I was able to get like jobs for myself, like, work for other publications, and start adapting classic literature into comics, and I kind of got like a really good start. So, now I'm doing some of my own books, working on a children's book about black bears in Northeast Ohio, working on a graphic novel about Woodstock. I have an art gallery in Little Italy. And that's kind of like a whole other part of my career. I've been down there for about 10 years, and it's funny, it kind of reminds me of Wickliffe down there a little bit. I fit in. It's really fun, and my art gallery is above Presty's Bakery, and I just finished a mural that's going to be installed down in the bakery. So, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I'm just looking over really quick. I just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I did. So when I went to Wickliffe, some of my friends, it's been popping up. They're going, when did Tara become an artist? That kind of thing. And I wasn't like the big artsy person growing up. I was more of like a, in Wickliffe, it's like everybody kind of has their cliques and stuff. And I was kind of a little bit more like, athletic, preppy kind of person. So nobody really knew I was an artist. But what was happening was that I was going over, my grandmother lived on Buena Vista, right across from the high school, and she was an artist. So sometimes she would call me in sick or whatever, and she'd be like, "Tara, come on over," and she'd turn her entire kitchen into an art studio for me. And I would just be, working on art projects all day. Mom, I don't think you knew about that. But yeah, my grandmother spent a lot of time with me creating art. And, when I went off to Chicago and I started getting some of these jobs, like with the menu design and stuff, I couldn't wait to come back home and sit in my grandma's kitchen and show her what I had done, like with the big time, whatever, Michael Jordan restaurant, or whatever I was gonna, the Radisson Hotel, whatever. I come in with these designs, to show my grandmother, and my grandmother, she wasn't impressed. She wasn't impressed. She was just like, yeah, she's like, you do what you gotta do to make money, and she's like, do what you gotta do there. I understand, but she goes, Tara, she goes, I want you to go into the family room over there. She goes, look up on the wall. Look at that drawing of your flower. She goes, I want you to remember that, that's your style. That's your work. Do what you have to do, but, just remember that, you have your own talent. You have your own style. So that was, thank you to my grandmother. And so my father, he was a big motivator. He was a big motivator for a lot of my friends growing up. He used to have all of these motivational signs all over he had one of the first man caves. It's almost famous, this man cave he had, because I hear about my friends talk about, when they come to the house, they have to go into the family room and go talk to my dad, tell them, what's going on with them and everything. And he had all these motivational signs all over the place, like, don't ever quit, showing up is 80% of life, just all these, he was just like very, wanted the best for everybody and wanted everybody to do well, and we all really appreciate it. So thank you, Dad. I know you're listening. I love you. So anyways, thank you so much. This has been an amazing honor, and especially being in this class with all of you, and thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let's have one final round of applause for all of our inductees. I want to thank everybody for coming on behalf of the Wickliffe Schools Alumni Association. If anybody is interested in participating in our group, we could use your help. We'd love to have your help. We're trying to do a lot of great things, including scholarships that go to students that are seniors in high school every year. I think this past year we gave $3,000 to students to go to trade school or four-year scholarships, whatever they want to do. And we'll continue to do that. We appreciate your support. One last announcement for the inductees that are here. Please step over to the stage before you start talking so we can get a group photo of this year's class. Thank you for coming. Have a wonderful evening, and goodbye.